Welcome to a Monday of the Pfaff. I don't know if you know this. It's the Rick Solem show now.
Awesome.
We changed the name. Then today it's going to be the Rick Solem and Brad Pfaff show. State Senator, District 32.
That's right. Good afternoon, everyone.
In the studio with me. And we don't have a long enough show today to get all the things done. And I want to deep dive right into some of this stuff.
Sure.
But I want to save the best for last. We got to go over like the baseball stadium.
Yes.
What across America, what baseball stadiums are doing with food. We're going to highlight those. And then there is actually a bill in the Wisconsin State Legislature that Brad has co-authored.
That's right.
Having to deal with stadium food in Wisconsin. So we're going to get into, is it like better beer, Brad? Do we need better beer?
Bringing down prices for all of us. Bring down the prices.
So we'll get into that. And the Senate met for one day 2 weeks ago to kind of finish up business for the year. So you're off now for the year. So
it's ridiculous.
Explain to your constituents what Brad Pfaff is going to do for the next, 8 months?
Well, Brad Pfaff will continue to be all over the 32nd Senate District, from DeSoto up to Ettrick and over to Hillsborough, traveling this district and meet with constituents and putting together various pieces of legislation to try and hold down costs. But you are right. On March 17th was the last, quote, official floor day for the Wisconsin State Senate for 2026. It's pretty ridiculous. We are expected to be back in session on April 14th. The governor's called us back for a special session. But, yeah, it's hard to justify and explain this kind of stuff. It's bad behavior.
Have Republicans taken seriously since COVID a special session called by the governor? Have they ever taken one more than a minute?
No, they have not.
They gavelled in and out under a minute almost, 13 times in a row?
Something like that.
And do you expect, because Tara Johnson told me this last week, the special session that he's planning on calling is going to have to do with like fair maps.
That's right. One would think that they'd want fair maps. I mean, one would think the fact that, you know what, let's actually listen to the voters. And rather than trying to draw maps just to protect incumbents, let's listen to voters. And I think this year in particular, all politicians, Republicans and Democrats, need to really listen to the voters because they're unhappy, and they should be. Prices are too high, and it seems like the elected officials aren't responding.
The special session he's calling in dealing with fair maps, do you kind of know what his expectation? What would you like to see happen? I
assume what he's going to call and ask for is to get politicians out of drawing legislative districts. And he's asking for, I assume, I do not know this, but I expect to see something that would have a nonpartisan commission made up of equal number of Republicans and Democrats who are not elected officials, but nonpartisan individuals, could be judges, that would then draw maps every 10 years based on the census.
Can we do that where they're not Republicans or Democrats? They're not even labeled?
Yeah.
Or can we not do it that way? What is the other board? It used to be the FAB.
The
GAB, the Government
Accountability Board. Well,
the Republicans got rid of that because it was nonpartisan. They created the Wisconsin Election Commission, which is made up of 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, and they
4-4.
Oh, 4 and 4, and they always just
always a tie.
4-4.
It's always a tie.
So if we create a maps commission and it's 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, gee, I wonder what they'll vote on.
So this is, I assume, and again, one should never assume, but Iowa, believe it or not, years ago put together a nonpartisan redistricting commission, and it's made up of former judges and individuals that do not serve in elected office. And it has worked quite well. Now, sadly, there's been tremendous pressure in Iowa to move away from that because, again, the partisanship in this nation is really at a pitch fever. But it's worked pretty well in Iowa, and it is something. We'll see what the governor comes forward with. But I have always supported getting politicians out of drawing maps. As I've said many times on this show, Rick, the great thing about the district that I represent, it is the most politically balanced district in the state of Wisconsin, state Senate seat. It has equal number of Republicans and Democrats. And
that's why some of the stuff you vote on pisses me off.
I love the fact that it is so politically balanced because people keep me honest. They keep me honest and they keep me focused on issues here. So.
Yeah, Brad will come in here and he, like, once in a while I ask him something and he'll talk a lot, but he won't say much.
It gets tough.
Because you're trying to be politically down the middle on some issues that are sometimes tougher.
And what I don't want to do, and I've never tried to do this, and I sincerely mean this, I struggle with political parties. And sadly, in this country, if you don't choose a political party, it's tough to run as an independent. And I am proud to say I have the most bipartisan legislative voting record in the state Senate, not just last legislative session, but this legislative session. I've been one of the most bipartisan state senators because I really do believe that if we can somehow figure out consensus, we can get to common ground. And sadly, that D and that R next to our name when it comes to political parties does slow that down.
State Senator Brad Pfaff in the studio with me. All right, when we come back this hour, we're going to talk about stadium foods. Yeah. There's actually a bill in the legislature, not that they're going to pass it unless Governor Evers calls a special session on stadium foods, which would be really funny. The Senate working one day 2 weeks ago, trying to pass 100 bills in one day, and what that looks like, because I tried to get Brad on in the midst of that, and he was too busy, obviously. And what has and what hasn't gotten done in the state legislature, some of the things we're going to talk about. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the Rick Sullivan Show. Brad Pfaff, state senator, District 32, in the studio with me, represents this corner of the state, so to speak.
Beautiful part, God's country.
And we're talking about, we just kind of talked a little bit. What I want to get into is what the Senate did a couple weeks ago, trying to pass 111 bills or so?
There was 111 bills that were forwarded to us, to the state Senate from the state assembly. Now, we did not, believe it or not, take up all of those bills.
So the state assembly passes 100 bills at some point in the year, right? Like this year. And they send them to the Senate, and then you guys sit on them until the last day you guys decide to work for the year.
That's right.
And some of them, the assembly just passed.
That's correct.
And some of them have maybe been sitting on the back burner for a while, right?
That's correct.
All right. And how many of these bills did you actually vote on you decided, I say you as a Senate, as a body, but this is the Republicans control?
So the majority party, and the Republicans are in a majority in the state Senate, they determine which bills are going to be brought to the floor. And there was a little over 80 bills out of the 111 that the assembly had forwarded us. There was over 80 bills that they brought forward on that day.
Okay.
And so, again, there's at least 30 bills that passed the assembly that we're not scheduled to be.
It's like a voice vote or something like that, or what is? How do they just? They're automatic, right?
Yeah, they just decided, the Republican leadership who schedules the Senate floor agenda. They just decided amongst themselves, no, we're not gonna put that bill on the floor, even though it passed.
Oh, the bills that aren't going to be
right.
Yeah, because but if they pass the assembly, which means some Democrats and most Republicans have voted on them, why wouldn't they go to the Senate?
Because as everybody knows, even though you may share the same political party, you may not agree in the same thing. And, Robin Voss's Republican Assembly passed a number of measures that Devin LeMahieu's Republican Senate said we're not taking up.
Do you have an example off the top of your head or not?
Yeah, let's go through and we can talk about it, but yeah, there's healthcare legislation that didn't get passed. There was some school consolidation bills, which, quite frankly, I was opposed to, but it passed the assembly and did not get brought up on the Senate floor. So, yeah, there's different measures.
There's probably an argument here where LeMahieu is retiring. You're the leader of the Senate.
Yeah, so there's an interesting fact, fun fact. For the first time in 16 years, in January of 2027, it'll be the first time in 16 years that there will be a brand new governor, brand new Speaker of the House, and brand new Senate Majority Leader all at the same time. It's the first time since 2011 that'll take place.
Yeah, and LeMahieu does this because of what Chergosky and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The rule of 17. Devin LeMahieu, the Republican leader, allowed a bill to be voted on where he doesn't get the rule of 17, which means you need 17 Republicans to be in agreement to pass a bill without any. We want to do it without any Democrats' help. And he passed a couple of these bills, but needed a couple of Democrats to get over the 50%, right?
That's exactly right.
And that forced his retirement?
That's exactly right. So let me tell you a quick story. So there's 33 state senators, and I'm one of those. And, of course, in order to pass legislation, you need 17. In today's Wisconsin State Senate, there's 18 Republicans, there's 15 Democrats. The rule of 17 says that in order for Republicans to bring a bill to the floor, you must have 17 out of the 18 Republicans agree on this piece of legislation. Otherwise, it's not going to be brought to the Senate floor. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Well, anyway, needless to say, there has been some bills that they needed Democratic support on.
The state budget, right?
The state budget, and I was one of those.
I was going to say, weren't you the deciding vote on the state budget?
I was that. And again, I joined because as I believe that we can find consensus on things. And I will say this. I believe Democrats will take the majority in the state Senate this fall. We'll win enough elections to be in the majority. And I do not support the rule of 17. I really do believe that.
Why did he have to retire?
He didn't have to.
He didn't have to. But
that's ridiculous. Okay. I mean, he just decided.
He broke the rules, but he broke the rules on the budget, too, which was months ago.
I will say this. I do believe none of us should be in office for life. And the thing is that, the voters decide when it's time to go. Did he retire? Did this Devin LeMahieu retire because of problems within his Republican caucus that he's a leader of? Or were there issues back home in his state Senate district? Only he can answer that question. All I can say is that I try and make sure that I pay attention to my district first before I'm going forward with anything down in Madison.
The other theory, and I don't know if he was on the ballot last election, the other theory is we have new Senate maps, and all the senators will be up for election here. I don't know if all of them will be, but the rest of them
he is up this year. His seat is up.
And he might lose his seat because he's going to be in a map that's more evenly drawn, and he probably won't be the Senate leader anymore because of the rule of 17 breaking that. And therefore, if I don't have all the power, then I don't want to play.
Yeah, and that says it all. That's pretty good, Rick. I think you're right. And so I would say this. One should never be afraid of their voters. One should always be listening to their voters, and one should always make sure that they're out there hearing their voters and lead. When you are in the state Senate representing that district, you make sure that you listen to your voters. And if his voters back home were telling him that they weren't happy with what he's doing, then maybe he made the right decision. But I take guidance from the people here in this district. I know that. So I have voted against my political party quite a bit.
You try to pass 80 bills then, not 111, but you did pass 80-ish bills on that one day. What is that like? It's
a marathon.
I understand that the bills are mostly discussed publicly in committee. So when they're through the floor, it's kind of like we kind of already know which way we're voting on the bills. Is that true?
It is true, but it is a marathon. It is definitely a marathon, and you sit there. Unlike the United States Senate or the United States House of Representatives, in which nobody sits in those desks, and they have roll call votes in which they come from their office and vote. We sit there. We sit there, and it is a thing of patience. You sit there for hours upon hours, and you take your votes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You listen to the debate, and if there's a particular issue or particular item that really strikes your fancy or is very important to your district, you stand up and you speak.
Is the debate that happens that day when you're voting finally on these bills to pass, that send to the governor's desk or send to the assembly, is the debate that day important in a way that might swing your, you know what, I might vote the other way because of this or not?
Remember, they do not put a bill on the floor unless they have 17 Republicans that will already support it. Very rarely, the Milwaukee Brewer bill to refinance the stadium improvements, that was where they needed votes.
And we'll get to that in a little bit.
And the state budget in which they needed assistance, for sure.
All of these are sports betting bills.
Right.
The
gaming, the sports gaming bill they needed assistance on. Otherwise, Rick, the
Badger deal, too?
Yeah, the Badger name, image, and likeness bill.
Oh, yeah.
They needed assistance on that. But the thing is that otherwise they've got this thing greased to go. And so it gets frustrating because there's so many more pieces of legislation that we could be hearing that have broad bipartisan support that would have,
Is there enough debate on these bills when they're finally voted on? The final vote in a Senate, is there enough debate those days? Because you go through committee and do it, but not all of the Senate
not
is
everybody's
there.
On the same committee. That's exactly right.
So does there need to be more debate? No, there isn't. Okay.
Yeah, we need more debate.
Because when you do 80 bills in one day, I don't imagine. I imagine some people are looking at their watch and telling the person testifying, "Hey, wrap it up. We got to do 8. We got to do 111 bills today, but we're only going to get to 80."
And as Steve Doyle would share in the state assembly, or Jill Billings would share, they have a time limit on every piece of legislation. No more than 10 minutes of debate. We don't have anything like that in the Senate, so you could literally filibuster the thing as long as you wanted.
Okay, but that didn't happen.
But that doesn't happen.
and then the Republicans in the Senate only decide to work the one day. If you do 111 bills, like maybe work 2 days and cut them in half, do 50 one day and 50 the other.
You would think they would do that, but the thing is there is a real, obviously, philosophical debate. There is some that believe that we, quote, should never be in session because, if the government's in session, that means that's, quote, not good for society. And there's others that believe, my gosh, we got so much work to do in order to provide more opportunities for people in this state. What are you doing being done on March 17th?
Well, here's the thing. You're done March 17th, and people think, hey, maybe you shouldn't be in session at all, except that you're sitting on $2.5 billion of budget surplus.
Exactly.
And you still haven't done anything. The state government hasn't yet to do anything with that. And the promise was all property tax relief and school funding, and here nothing happened.
Well, and we will see. So you may break news here tonight, Rick. The governor is working, having constant communications with Robin Vos and with Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu and with some Democrats in regards to doing some type of tax.
Well, when we come back, do you want to break that news?
Well, I've already broken it. That's the news, but happy to talk about it.
Okay, well, we got to take a break. We're also going to come back and talk about stadium food because Brad's co-authored a bill on stadium food, and we have some really weird things that baseball stadiums are doing across the nation that we got to talk about as well. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the Rick Sullivan Show. Brad Pfaff, State Senator, District 32, in studio with us. We're kind of recapping the one day the Senate worked a couple weeks ago, trying to pass 80 bills. But some of the stuff I want to get to, what hasn't and what has gotten done, as you now run for. You've said you're running for re-election already.
Yeah, but I am not.
Right?
I am not up this year.
Oh, you're not up this year.
So I am up in 2028.
Well, that's right, because I criticized you for not running for something else because you're in a safe seat, right? Like you should just run for a thing, right, Brad?
No, I will tell you what. It is a I enjoy going door to door and listening to voters. I love that. It keeps you honest.
But the other thing too is I brought it up before. If we get a new governor and they say, Brad, will you be the ag secretary? You're out, right? Or no?
Well, I really like what I'm doing here. We'll have to see what happens, but I will say this is that I will let the new governor choose his or her own team. And
you have a favorite?
Not really.
Not yet.
Not
really.
Are
you gonna have a favorite?
Well, I'll tell you. I worked with Joel Brennan, who's running for governor in the Democratic ticket, and he's a solid guy. Obviously, I know the lieutenant governor quite well, Sarah Rodriguez.
She'll be in here tomorrow.
She's working hard. And, of course, I serve in the legislature with many of the others. So we'll see.
All right. So stop the squeeze bill.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Senate bill?
It's a Senate bill.
And can you explain what the stop the squeeze bill is? Squeeze being like a baseball reference here, right?
That's correct. So with my colleague from Lodi, her name is Sarah Kieski, State Senator Sarah Kieski, and I introduced legislation that would cap the profit margin at 20% for vendors that are selling at publicly financed stadiums concession food. I am sick and tired of trying to pay $9 for a beer and $7 for a hot dog at a stadium that has been financed by taxpayers.
I think it is ridiculous. In a way, but not in the total way. You went to a UWL game, you were fine. I could afford this stuff. And then you went to an upper level pro/D1 game, and you were like, oh, I have to bring more cash for this food.
I'll get even more specific, Rick. So this bill that I've introduced really is very local. So I go to UWL basketball games. I love them. And $3 for a 16-ounce bottled Diet Coke, $2 for popcorn. I spend $5. I go to a UW Badger basketball game, and I love the Badgers. That popcorn is $7. The soda, the pop, 16-ounce pop, is $8. $15. $15 at a Badger game, $5 at UWL game. What gives? This is ridiculous. Not only that, we've got our basketball coaches at UWL, which I think are phenomenal, and they make pennies on the dollar what we're paying Luke Fickell and what we're paying Greg Gard. I mean, at the UW.
Yeah, those
this
guys
is
are making
ridiculous.
millions of
They're
dollars
making
a year.
millions of dollars.
In fact, Luke Fickell is the highest paid state employee in Wisconsin.
It's ridiculous. And the thing is, these are public stadiums. I mean, the Kohl Center and Camp Randall Stadium are owned by us, the taxpayers. They're part of the University of Wisconsin.
As well as the Brewer Stadium?
As well, the Brewer Stadium, we have helped finance. We helped renovate that. I voted to help renovate that. And I think these prices are ridiculous.
So I said this to the Brewers president, Rick Schlesinger, about a year ago, so before this season. It was during the season last year, so this stuff might be in a way a little outdated, what he said. But I asked him about, hey, if we're financing your stadium for $500 million, should we do something for the people that are going to the games, like maybe make food affordable? Because
damn right we should.
And I know, and we'll get into some of the stadium foods around the nation here, but this is Schlesinger's answer to that.
Yeah, dollar beer nights cause a little problem for us, but
when I said it, I regretted it.
Last year, we instituted value pricing for. We have $4 hot dogs, $4 sodas, $4 side items, and we also have a special meal ticket package for $62. A family of four can come to the game, park, have hot dogs and sodas or waters, and sort of enjoy the experience. So we are, I think, the kings of baseball in sort of discount promotions, and certainly recognize that food and beverage prices at the ballpark are certainly not what people pay at the grocery store. So we've tried to institute a number of value meals and specials, and accordingly, we also have, great ticket packages. So yeah, affordability is a key thing, and you hit on it. The taxpayers of the state have, graciously helped support the ballpark and the Brewers, and, we try to get back as best we can with, great promotions, good discounts, a fun team, a winning team.
So that's Brewers president Rick Schlesinger on my show last year. Mm-hmm. So this is, I don't know if those same
before I introduced the legislation.
This is and those food prices might not exist for this season, or they're better. They might be better. They might be worse. But like he says, $62 ticket package for a family of four, and you get hot dogs. So I'm thinking like you get a hot dog and a soda, and a family of four for $62, pretty good for tickets. So there's special promotions, but the day-to-day in general,
it's just crazy.
When I'm paying, what's a beer, like $8, $9, $10?
Oh, $10.
$10. Okay.
$10.
Which is crazy.
A beer, a Coors Light at the Kohl Center is $11. At the Kohl Center. I mean, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous. I am sorry. This stuff is all corporate. What really frustrates me is we were talking about a public university charging this kind of price. Now, billionaires that own these sports teams, I mean, we can have that conversation that the billionaire really needs to, take my money in order to charge $11 for a Miller Lite or a Coors Light. But really gets my goat that a university charges that.
Well, the billionaire that owns the sports team is probably more apt to have the drinks and the food cheaper because they're billionaires that actually they don't need all of our money. Also, they don't own the stadium. The state of Wisconsin owns the Brewer Stadium.
Correct.
The Milwaukee Bucks don't the Bucks owners own the Bucks?
No,
Stadium?
we put some state money into that.
We did put money in it.
Yeah, former U.S. Senator, former Bucks owner. Herb Cole donated some money, as did the new ownership group, but also the state of Wisconsin.
Who owns the stadium? Do you know?
It's a stadium district.
It's the same thing as the Brewers?
It's a stadium. It's a stadium district. Now, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but yeah, the American Family Field. It's first of all, I'm a huge Brewer fan. Thankfully, we've got tailgating. That's what separates the Brewers from others, is that we can do unlimited tailgating once we park our car. But again, we got to pay so much for parking.
So you can't bring the brats in, though.
Can't bring the brats in. But no, it just gets my goat how expensive this stuff is. And what really gets me, and you're going to say, well, why are we getting the government involved in this? If these stadiums want to, have different vendors that would compete on food at different prices within the public stadium, good for them. I'd be all for it. But no, it's one major concession company that runs all these different stands, these food stands in these stadiums.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like one major concession.
So we have a monopoly on concession food?
At that stadium. So even though it may say a different, so-and-so's hot dogs and so-and-so's bratwurst, it's the concessionaire company that's controlling the food.
Do they have the same company in the Lambeau and the Brewers? Is it the same?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of. But that just.
But it's not. It's the same company within the stadium itself. It's not like Bill's Hot Dogs.
It's not like it's Bill's Hot Dogs. And Bill's Hot Dogs, and then it's Mary's Bratwurst, and it's Joey's
and they're
nachos.
not like individual small business owners.
Yeah, it's not individual small business owners that are doing this. If we had that, that'd be great. Then we could compete. But no, it's all the same. And it gets my goat. But having said that, go Brewers. They started out 3-0. Great weekend.
Yeah, kind of a crazy last win they had with
it was awesome.
Yelich hitting the game winner.
Yeah, it was just awesome.
Essential game winner. All right, when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation on stadium foods because I'm bearing the lead here on some of the things that are going on across the nation when it comes to baseball foods. And then maybe we'll have some time for some of the stuff that needs to get done yet in the state legislature. We'll be back with State Senator Brad Pfaff. You're listening to WIZM. Welcome back to the Rick Sullivan Show. Brad Pfaff, State Senator in studio with me, District 32. We're talking about stadium foods. He's got this bill called Stop the Squeeze Bill because you're on defense here, right?
I am.
Because they're doing the squeeze play.
They're doing the squeeze play. You
the
get
it. The billionaire owner of the Brewers Stadium. So they're doing essentially the cap the stadium's concession foods at 20% profit, which is important, right? The 20% profit margin.
Yeah, 20% profit margin. And again, and if you're dealing with one major concessionaire, I mean, you are operating in a publicly financed stadium.
Could we rework or have a different bill where it's like, no, you have to have small business owners come into these stadiums,
sure,
and
you could,
or maybe you must allow, or something like that. I don't even know if they want to because it seems like a lot of work setting up and taking down, and every time there's a Brewers game,
exactly.
81
and I will say this. I mean, you go out to Dan Kapanke's Loggers, that is very affordable, and it's a good time. And he's got good food selection, doesn't overprice.
The beers aren't $11?
Yeah, he doesn't overcharge on the burgers and brats and hot dogs. He's got a bunch of different fan packages. I think it's a great time.
This can happen at the professional or Division I level, Brad.
I believe
and I will tell you, it's happening in one place. It's happening in a good way, and another place you're going to go crazy about what the Dodgers are doing.
All right.
So the St. Louis Cardinals, the Brewers' main foe. If it's not the Cubs, it's the Cardinals.
That's right.
They have an all-you-can-eat ticket package. So you get a ticket to the game. You get all-you-can-eat hot dogs, nuggets, brats, nachos, popcorn, fries, peanuts, chips, ice cream, and fountain drinks. Imagine how much you could eat in 3 hours. All you can eat plus a ticket. How much do you think that is?
Well, I looked it up, and I will say this.
So
yeah, it's $29, and it's just fantastic.
$29 for.
I think it's fantastic.
That might be a better deal than if I just went to a local restaurant and got an all-you-can-eat fish fry.
I think it's fantastic, and I tip my hat to the Cardinals. Good for them.
So $29, all you can eat: hot dogs, nuggets, nachos, popcorn, fries, chips, ice cream, and the ticket at the Cardinals games. I kind of want to go to a Cardinals game just to get dinner. You might take your family just to get dinner. Your kids will be entertained for about 4 hours, and B, you feed them.
Well, it was years ago. Now, I'm dating myself. About 10 years ago, I was out in Washington, D.C. for a conference, and the thing is, it was like a Tuesday night, and the Washington baseball team had $1 hot dogs every Tuesday night, and it was just phenomenal. No, these were not foot-long hot dogs, but I mean, come on,
dollar hot dogs, yeah,
dollar dog. I mean, I love relish, pickle relish on my hot dogs. I mean, you dress that thing up and you eat. And I had 6 or 7 of them.
When the Twins had the Metrodome, and my friend pitched for the Twins one game, so I went and covered it, and so I got to go to the press box.
Yeah,
journalists in there get all you can eat.
Awesome.
And they have like twin dogs or something in there. They're amazing, and I might have had too many of them.
Oh, that's all right.
I also went to a UW-Oshkosh football game. Me and Mitch Reynolds covered it. This is years ago. At halftime, they had all-you-could-eat fried chicken. Brad, I was really sick for the second half.
Trying to get home
ate so
after
much
that.
fried chicken at halftime. It's not. So the Dodgers or the Cardinals, $29 all-you-can-eat plus a ticket. The Dodgers. Here we go. They got the Shohei Ohtani, so the best player maybe ever in baseball. Clearly the back-to-back MVP, if not 3 times in a row. Shohei Ohtani's best player in baseball. And the Brewers fans know this all too well because he hit that giant bomb.
Oh, yeah.
All you can drink fountain drink. And with a souvenir Shohei cup, right? How much you think?
They probably want $20.
No, higher.
Higher than $20?
Significantly higher.
I'll say $30.
Significantly higher. You're not even halfway.
You serious? $60?
The Shohei Ohtani all you could drink fountain drink was $75 to start.
$75 for a fountain drink?
People complained about it. You get to keep the cup, right? $75. All you can drink soda.
Good.
In L.A., you know how badly they need sustenance in there? It's 100 degrees. They people complain, so they dropped the price to $68.99.
Think of that. And the Dodgers are owned by a billionaire.
And the Dodgers have the highest payroll. I think the Mets have the highest payroll, but the Dodgers are right there with the second highest payroll in baseball.
It's just it's ridiculous. And again, I'm a tremendous fan, but again, I really struggle with these pricing.
Yeah, so you're probably not getting the Shohei souvenir cup for $75.
I've never been to Dodger Stadium.
You also have to get a ticket.
Yeah,
that
right.
doesn't include.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals are doing $29 with the ticket, all you can eat, and the Dodgers are saying once you get into the stadium, and God knows how much it costs to go to a Dodger game, I have no idea.
Right.
And parking, right?
Right.
You could buy this souvenir cup and get all the soda you can for $68.
$68. Think of that.
What about parking? Like, you have this bill to cap profit margins on.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
Is there a way to do anything with parking?
I'm sure there is. I am sure there is. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Rick, and your listeners. I mean, was I serious on this piece of legislation? I am. But it really is a message piece as well. It is a message piece, as we're doing this March Madness. And starting baseball.
We just funded the Brewer Stadium.
Right.
So, and you heard me talking to the president. Hey, you kind of have an obligation to make this affordable for fans. Didn't we also just give the Badgers $15 million? And the governor hasn't signed that. But here, Badgers, $15 million for quote unquote buildings. But then they flip around and they have $15 million extra sitting in their back pockets that they can use to pay
name, image, and likeness, pay athletes.
And so, hey, if you're going to do that, I thought you guys, you should have worked into two things into the bill. Your bill, you got to make food affordable. You could have also did this. For every $1 million we give to athletes, we also have to give $1 million to teachers.
I think I agree with you. I voted against that legislation. I think it's ridiculous. I just think it's ridiculous what's going on. And I do strongly oppose the fact that we're giving that kind of money on name, image, and likeness when we've got public schools that are going to referendum to try and keep their doors open. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, a bunch of schools right in your district here are going to referendum.
I got at least 3 school districts that are going to referendum next week in order to keep their lights on, and yet we're passing $15 million for name, image, and likeness so we can go rent a player for a year to come in and play football or basketball.
Yeah.
I just think it's wrong.
So in the next 8 months, you mentioned before the last break, the governor might call into special session or the legislature might call and because would it deal with public schools or would it deal with public property taxes, or do you have an idea? What would you like to see get done?
I think, first of all, I think that you just summarized it pretty well, what the conversation is going on with the governor and I am not part of the conversation. I'm trying to be part of the conversation.
Why aren't you and who isn't part of the conversation?
Well, who is part of the conversation are 3 individuals that are not seeking re-election next year. One being the governor, the other one being Republican Speaker Robin Vos, and the third being Republican Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu. Neither 3 of those, are going to be back next year, but yet they are having this conversation, which they struggle with, and they're not bringing other people to the table. What are they discussing? What I'm hearing is it's a combination of school aid assistance and property tax relief, but I'm also hearing it may be some type of, direct payment or, some type of, somebody would get like I don't know a dollar amount, but like $1,000 or something like that per taxpayer.
Like everyone gets a $200 check.
Yeah, something
Minnesota
like that.
did this. I'll just bring it up before you sign this legislation or whatever. Minnesota did this a couple of years ago because they had a $14 billion budget surplus, so they just gave some money back. I got the $200 check or whatever it was, but they did it in a way that passed some federal deadline. Therefore, the federal government took taxes out of my state.
Think of that.
So they double taxed the $200.
Yeah, they taxed it. Yeah.
So maybe look into make sure that it isn't past this deadline where the federal government, because it looks really stupid if you guys pass that.
I don't really know what's going on. I will say this is that I firmly believe that we recognize the fact when we've got $3.50 gas now and we've got interest rates the way they are. I mean, we got to look at the affordability issue, and we need to do something. But I just would encourage that we have more people at the table rather than just individuals that aren't seeking re-election.
All right, that's State Senator Brad Pfaff, District 32. Thanks for coming in, Brad.
Thank you, Rick. Have a good night, everyone.